Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, High Quality Family Engagement, Texas Takes Action. My name is Anna Blagojevich, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator here at Ready Rosy. In today's webinar, we'll be exploring the high standards Texas is setting for family engagement and how the 6 components of family engagement outlined by the Texas Education Agency came to be. We'll also be looking at some practical strategies to implement family engagement at both the district and the classroom level. And we'll take a look at how Texas schools are using technology to strengthen family and school partnerships. I can see we still have some people who are trickling in. And before we get started, I wanted to ask that you use the question and answer feature if you have any questions that come up during the webinar. We should have time to answer all of your questions live, but if we're running short on time, we'll be sure to have someone on our team follow up with you after. We'll also be sending out a recording of the webinar for you to reference or share, and as well as the resources that you'll hear mentioned today. So I think that covers all of the logistics. So I'm going to jump right in and start by introducing our guest panelists. We have Howard Morrison, who is the statewide coordinator of early childhood education at the Texas Education Agency and was very involved as a facilitator working with various partners and stakeholders in developing those state guidelines for family engagement plans and defining those 6 components of high quality family engagement. We also have Michelle Rosas, who is the Director of Early Childhood at Houston ISD, where they've developed a robust family engagement plan and implementation strategy for her district to support those 6 components. And in her free time, you might find Michelle working on her PhD dissertation, which she'll probably share a little bit more about later. Lynn Caesar is a 28-year veteran teacher at Ed White Elementary in Houston ISD. She's found her home in teaching early childhood, but has also taught 3rd and 4th grade in Houston. She loves early childhood because she says this is where the learning all begins. Emily Roden was a classroom teacher and educational consultant with Pearson before creating a team of early childhood experts, family specialists, developers, and filmmakers to create Ready Rosy. Ready Rosy now supports transformative family engagement in over 6,500 schools and programs across the US. And Emily continues to serve as Ready Rosy's president and co-founder. So thank you all so much for being here today, both panelists and all of you who are joining us and tuning in across the country. We're so grateful for your time. We know it's very precious. And we're also grateful for all of your contributions to the field of early childhood and family engagement. I'm going to turn things over to Emily, and we're going to kind of transition over to a slide format presentation. Emily's going to be moderating our guest panel and our Q&A. So thanks.
Thank you, Anna. Well, it's a privilege to be here today and to be speaking to you all. We are not only passionate about Texas and the great education and the great focus and priority of early childhood education that's happening here in Texas, but we're also physically based here in the DFW area in Denton, Texas. And so we're excited. I thought I'd take just 2 seconds to tell you a little bit about the impetus of this webinar and this discussion today. We've heard from many districts that they are either forming and posting their high quality family engagement plans, or some districts are in the current process of reevaluating their high quality family engagement plan specifically for early childhood. But as Michelle might mention as well, these plans oftentimes impact well beyond early childhood to a comprehensive pre-K-12 or even birth through 12 family engagement plans. So we know how critical they are, and appreciate all you for prioritizing this time today to think about and focus on families. The second impetus, the second reason for this webinar is that other states are also considering developing components of and standards around family engagement. I was just this week at the National Center for Families Learning conference in Kentucky, which I heard from many states around the country that they are formulating committees and think tanks, work groups to start thinking about family engagement standards and plans and proficiencies. So not only is this webinar geared toward those of us who are right here in Texas, but we really hope to share this even beyond the borders of Texas so that they can learn from the great work that's been being done here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Howard to talk a little bit and share more with us for those who don't know about that state level development of the high quality family engagement plan. So Howard?
Great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Howard Morrison. I'm the statewide coordinator for the Early Childhood Education Division. And I'm super excited to be here today and talk to you about Texas's pre-kindergarten family engagement plan and really the development about that. So I think I'll start by just giving a legislative background. So really, when we think about in context of where this came from, how did we get to the point that we're at right now? It really all began in the 84th legislative session. So this was in 2015. So House Bill 4 created the High Quality Pre-Kindergarten Grant. And part of that grant was developing and implementing a family engagement plan. So this was put into law for the High Quality Pre-K grant. And you'll see this went into Texas Education Code 29168, which was titled Family Engagement Plan. And this directed school districts to develop and implement a family engagement plan to assist the district in achieving and maintaining high levels of family involvement and positive family attitudes towards education. So this family engagement plan must be based on family engagement strategies established. So how did we get to that point? Well, so in order to do so, we had to collaborate with other state agencies. One of those state agencies was the Health and Human Services Division or Commission. We really had to provide, looking at the birth through 5 age span, but really establish prioritized family engagement strategies that would be included in that school district's family engagement plan. We also wanted to ensure that we had the capacity to receive feedback and information from parent-teacher organizations, community groups, faith-based organizations, really to provide recommendations on different iterations of drafts that we had developed. The family engagement plan itself had to be based on empirical research, but also be proven to demonstrate significant positive short-term and long-term outcomes for early childhood education. So this is really where it began, as I had mentioned in 2015. The grant itself was implemented in 2016-17, and you'll see this was ultimately adopted by the Commission of Education in the Texas Administrative Code 102.1003. Then you'll see this took on a new form in the 85th legislative session, which was in 2017. So in this session, the family engagement plan was included in Rider 78. And so this was in a rider where the commissioner was required to ensure that school districts were implementing or developing a family engagement plan across all school districts in Texas. In the last legislative session, which was the 86th, so in 2019, House Bill 3 was the next big bill to require full-day high-quality pre-kindergarten programs. For those full-day high-quality pre-kindergarten programs, they must implement a family engagement plan across the district. And so that would be required to develop, implement, and then make available on their website and to families. Okay, and so let's talk about the approach. And so going into this, we really, as an agency, wanted to develop some strategic agency partners, as well as establish and develop a stakeholder group. Since when this passed in 2015, we really only had about 6 months or so to go through this development process, so it could be included in the commissioner's rules and then ultimately implemented in the next school year. So we really kind of had to leverage our agency partners. So we worked with the American Institute for Research. They were housed at the Texas Comprehensive Center. And so we also partnered with CELO, the Center on Enhancing Early Learning Outcomes, Education Development Center, and then RMC Research. So we really want to leverage our partners to really help, do a landscape analysis of family engagement, quality family engagement across the state nationally, but then also look at what was happening in other states. So we could really see where were some successes in other states that might be similar to Texas that we could leverage and reach out to and ultimately provide some insight onto some quality information and see where there were some positive outcomes happening. So within that, we identified key stakeholders. So our own agency had to be represented, so a representative from the Texas Education Agency, a representative from Health and Human Services, from an Education Service Center for Title I. We had a representative from the Texas Workforce Commission, DARS ECI, DFPS. We wanted to ensure that we had local representation from school districts, parent-teacher associations, Texas Library Association, Head Start, and other statewide or early childhood organizations. Ultimately, in developing this family engagement plan, we wanted to ensure that we had equal representation across the state that had impact on high-quality family engagement and could really provide collective insights for this stakeholder group. Okay. So in order to develop this family engagement plan, we really wanted to look at some key resources and state examples. Since that was one of the components directed from the legislature that had to be research-based and family engagement plans that had key outcomes. And so we were looking at the Harvard Family Resource Project, the Head Start Parent, Family, and Community Engagement Framework, the National Network of Partnership Skills, Partnership in Education, as well as the Texas Rising Star Certification Guidelines. Along with the resources, we understand that many districts and many programs have different requirements for family engagement. So we wanted to be cognizant that districts had multiple family engagement requirements that might be with their Head Start partners, that might be if they were partnering with a Texas Rising Star provider or their Title I program. So we wanted to be sure that we were looking at what was required in other programs so we could streamline that and eliminate any kind of duplication to be sure that we could be cognizant of that information. We also wanted to see what other states were doing great work. So we looked at Illinois, we looked at Maryland, we looked at Michigan, and we looked at Washington. They all had very different family engagement work done, some in very strong in the family engagement plans, and some that just had a key component as part of their state's quality improvement plan. So we really kind of leveraged that information to really kind of help shape and develop what we wanted to do and see in Texas. So let's talk a little bit about the family engagement plan process. So we started this in August of 2015 and ultimately completed this process in December of 2015. So as a stakeholder group, it was our job as a stakeholder engagement team to really develop an initial draft on what would a definition of family look like, what would a definition of family engagement look like, and then really look at those draft core components, as well as those strategies that would potentially fall within those buckets. So once we had that developed, we were able to distribute that information through a statewide survey and then receive feedback. So after we had done the statewide survey, we really looked at where were some key common threads and information that then we could take that information and make improvements. If we could streamline the definitions, streamline the components, look at any additional strategies that we may be missing. Ultimately, that revision went into the Family Engagement Plan rule, which had to be included for the high quality grant. So then there was an additional round of rulemaking comments that really brought us to what was approved in the Family Engagement Plan. So you'll see the stakeholder group approved the plan in 2016, but ultimately those rules became effective April 6th of 2016 for the implementation of the project in 2016-17 school year. Okay, let's look at some of the definitions. So how is a family engagement plan defined? So really, an effective family engagement plan creates a foundation for the collaboration of mutual partners, embraces the individuality and uniqueness of families, and promotes a culture of learning that is child-centered, age-appropriate, and family-driven. Ultimately, we wanted to be inclusive of the variety of Texas's families, and that it was all-encompassing of the different dynamics of families across the state. So we were really looking at it through that lens. We didn't want to have a narrow approach to what a family engagement plan needed to look like. And so we wanted to ensure that it was broad enough to encompass all the dynamics of Texas's families. All right, let's look at the definition of family and family engagement. So when we think about families, we are really looking at adults responsible for the child's care and children in the child's life who support the early learning and development of the child. We know families take different shapes and sizes, so we want to be sure that we encompass that those were adults responsible for the child, whether it be a parent, a step-parent, a caregiver, any individual who is ultimately responsible for that child. But then for the family engagement would be the mutual responsibilities for families, schools, and communities to build relationships to support student learning and achievement, to support family well-being, and continuous learning and development of children, families, and educators. Family engagement is fully integrated in the child's educational experience and supports the whole child and is both culturally responsive and linguistically appropriate. So really kind of thinking that this is a collective impact. The entire community is involved and plays a role in a child's success. So we really came through it through that kind of broad, holistic lens there. So ultimately, we came up to what the components of family engagement would look like. So the 6 components included facilitate family-to-family support, establish a network of community resources, increase family participation in decision-making, equip families with tools to enhance and extend learning, develop staff skills and evidence-based practices that support families in meeting their children's learning benchmarks, and evaluate family engagement efforts and use evaluations for continuous improvement. So really we have these broad 6 buckets, but then developed each component would have multiple strategies within those components. So there is kind of a further list of components within that, and then also some direct strategies that are used. So in our resources page, we have information on where you can see the full family engagement plan. So in that next slide, you'd be able to see that we have that in the commissioner's rules that has the entire family engagement plan with the strategies and direct strategies. We also have a few resources on our webinars page. So we have a family engagement webinar. This includes the presentation and checklist. Within our high quality pre-kindergarten program page, we have information there. We have high quality pre-kindergarten FAQs that relate to family engagement, and then obviously the commissioner's rules that were adopted. We do have a downloadable PDF that has the family engagement plan, strategies, definitions, et cetera, and then some unique strategies that a district may be able to just take and implement immediately. So we're very proud of the work that's been done, and we know that a lot of great work across the state has been done, and districts are doing a fantastic job in implementing this and using this information and really creating some great resources. So I'm excited the direction that it's taking. And really, we all know if we can get families involved early, it really leads to long-term success, and also continuing family engagement from pre-K through grade 12, ultimately. If we can get those families involved early, it really does set family engagement up for success going forward.
Thank you so much, Howard. And for those of you who are joining us live today, I know that you probably have questions and comments for Howard as well. We're asking, if you don't mind, we'll address all of those, and our participants and presenters have offered to stay on until the end to address those questions. So with all of that background knowledge, Howard, and thank you so much for sharing that wealth of information. I'd like to pass it on to Michelle Rosas, who is the Early Childhood Director at Houston ISD. And as we reviewed multiple plans around high quality family engagement, to be honest, is such innovative work, like Howard mentioned, going on across the state of Texas, but we thought it would be interesting to hear from Texas's largest school district that has unique challenges based on that size, and how they are implementing the very work that Howard just talked about. So Michelle?
Hi, everyone. We were honored when they reached out and asked for us to share. So what I will be sharing today is a blend of both the work that we're doing in the early childhood department, and also we have a department called FACE, which is Family and Community Engagement, and we work closely to make sure that all the things that we do are aligned and make sense, because children are going to travel from pre-kindergarten on up. A little bit about Houston: we are the largest district in the state of Texas, and I believe we move up and down, maybe the third or fourth largest in the nation. Because we are large, we do have two separate departments that look at this work. We have full day kindergarten for all students, and we have full day pre-kindergarten for students who qualify. I have 8 pre-K centers where all of the children in those buildings are attending pre-K, and then we have pre-K in almost every one of our buildings, our regular buildings as well. So we have a large body of children who are entering the educational system at pre-K. So our family engagement plan focuses around, as you can imagine, those 6 components. And so these are the areas, the 6 that I'm going to be talking about in the presentation. We really value our parents as partners in preparing our children to succeed in college, career, and beyond. So it was important as we created our plan that it wasn't just about pre-K, but it was really a long vision, and then how we fit into that. We build a strong foundation, and we really engage the community as well. So the plan that we have completely aligns with the high quality family engagement plan. We have a program called Family Friendly Schools, which has campuses apply to be a family friendly school. They're certified, and this is where families have an opportunity to feel welcome, to have active participation in their school community, and to embrace and respect the rich diversity that is our school district. And this program was started in 2015-2016. Ready Rosy is also a tremendous resource to HISD, and it provides all families who have children 0 to 6 an opportunity to use this interactive tool. It provides daily activities for adults to do with their children. The activities are simple. They take about 2 minutes and they help prepare kids for school. We've also been using their activities and their videos in classrooms as well. So sometimes we're front loading material and then they're encouraged to use it at home. And we also, some other family support strategies I'd like to mention are Texas Head Start that many of you are familiar with, Texas School Ready. Both of those organizations are part of our team, as well as HIPPY, which is Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters. So on the next slide, you'll see a little bit about our Community Resources Network. We consistently invite community partners to events. We have a wraparound department that has a dedicated person for almost every single one of our campuses, and they assess what needs our students have and our families have, and we match them with our local organizations to support them. An example might be homeless education or homeless services. We also have a community resource guide that's available online. We'll provide that link to you guys. And it covers anything from food to shelter to immigration services, health services, everything in between. And it's over 500 pages long just for local resources available to families. On the next slide, we really focus in on family participation and decision making. We have multiple opportunities for families to be involved and to have engagement with their campus and the district. So an example would be, obviously, like many of you guys are familiar with PTA and PTO or other parent groups. We want our families to have an active voice in the decision-making process in their school community. And as you know, each campus is required. We're a decentralized district, so both centrally and on each campus, 15% of the total budget is spent towards early childhood. And through those organizations such as PTO or PTA, SDMC, or campus improvement teams, they can have an influence on how those funds are spent. So we want to equip families with tools and learning strategies because we do feel like they are the first and most important partners. The image you see to the right for Parent University is actually a video, and we'll have that link in the supporting materials so that you can see what that looks like. Our interim superintendent, Dr. Granita Lathan, launched Parent University last year, and these are engaging events. They take place simultaneously, in one night a month across different locations within the city. And we provide dinner, childcare, translation services, and always a community resource fair. And so we can discuss what's available to parents through the HISD system. And Rosy has always been a part of those parent universities. So now that we're in our second year of Parent University, we involve we always have breakout sessions, and they always include things such as social emotional sessions, how to help your child in class with language and math, everything that a parent might need so they feel like they're completely equipped to support their children in their education. On the next slide, we focus on our family and community engagement activities are research-based and are linked to learning. We offer a variety of learning opportunities for parents and caregivers that can easily be incorporated in different types of events to enhance the learning aspects of the event. So on our family and community engagement site, you'll see a long list of all the resources that are available to them. The next slide, we're always evaluating. I think this is true for all of you who are tuning in. We're always looking at, is what we're doing, is it meeting the needs of our families? Is it meeting the needs of our children? How can we improve? Do we need to adjust? So our parents participate in several survey opportunities to assess their school climate experience, support experience, as well as opportunities to provide feedback on the different learning workshops they can participate in. And we thought that it would be a fantastic segue to have one of our phenomenal pre-K teachers, Lynn Cesar, join us. She's at E. White Elementary, and she's going to talk to you about what this looks like at the campus level. Take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Before I talk about how I partner with families of students, It's important for you to know a little bit about my family history. In 1975, my family and I immigrated to America to escape the communist persecution in Vietnam. As refugees, we faced many challenges such as language and cultural barriers. It was difficult for my parents to find a job to support a family of 7 kids. My youngest brother was born a few years later after we came to America. So in the photo, you only see 6 kids. Even though we lived through many years of hardship, we managed to thrive and to remain very close as a family by taking care of each other. My parents had hectic work schedules, but they always gathered the family for meals and evening prayers. I strongly believe in the phrase, the family that prays together stays together. Because God has blessed me in numerous ways, giving me a rewarding career, amazing friends and colleagues, a wonderful family, I want to share my blessings with others, including my students and their family members. Like myself, many of my students' parents are immigrants from different parts of the world, such as Ethiopia, Burma, China, Vietnam, Mexico, Honduras, India, El Salvador, and the list goes on. I know and understand their struggles. I partner with families by showing them that I care about their well-being and by letting the parents know that I am available 24/7 to assist them in any way. I meet with families before, during, and after school hours to provide them with effective teaching tools, strategies, and resources like Ready Rosy that they can utilize at home to support their children's learning. At my school, pre-kindergarten parents are invited to attend various family engagement events that promote early literacy development, math skills, and STEM. Sometimes I meet with parents at their homes to share meals with them, to attend a baby shower. Once I gain the parents' trust and respect, they are willing to listen and follow my advice on how they can help their children to succeed in school and in life.
Lynn, thank you so much for sharing. I had to pause on this slide because I think it's such a beautiful visual example of family engagement and the culture and the atmosphere that you've created to include families and their most meaningful moments into the classroom, and obviously how empowering for the children in your classroom to know that their entire background, their entire family is valued by you and in your classroom. I also just wanted to comment just how powerful in this webinar. If you didn't notice, I think, and this was Michelle's recommendation when we started planning this webinar, is the power of having the statewide perspective and the background, then the thoughtfulness at the district-wide level to produce a customized plan for that specific district at that administrative level, but then how that is applied. Most importantly, how that impacts the literal daily routine of our most valuable educators, the classroom teachers, in the work that they do to support families. Most of you might be familiar with a recent study that said that families' most valuable, highly esteemed advice and most highly esteemed advisors are pediatricians and classroom teachers. So to hear that the people who families value the most are having the kind of impact that Lynn is really encouraging. And I hope hearing some of those examples at each one of those levels has been meaningful to each of you who are tuning in today. Very quickly, this webinar is not about a product, although it's brought to you by Ready Rosy, and we are passionate about family engagement. However, just for those of you who are not familiar with Ready Rosy, I thought I'd give you the 2-second overview. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we are based here in Texas. So the very first early childhood guidelines that we looked at were the Texas pre-K guidelines. Texas has also influenced our own development of our content and the fact that we culturally are bilingual first. Everything we've done here in Texas or because of our atmosphere and the families that we support here in Texas has been bilingual. And then for classrooms like Lens, we're actually developing even multilingual resources like videos with native Arabic speaking families and subtitles and multiple other of our content videos that we call modeled moments. So if you heard about Ready Rosy probably 7 years ago, you probably know us as a great video library for families. But for those of you who implement Ready Rosy currently, you know that Ready Rosy is so much more comprehensive than that now. As we've grown, as we've built our resources on the same components that Howard mentioned, the PFC, the Head Start Parent, Family, and Community Engagement Framework, the 6 components of the Texas High Quality Family Engagement Plan, and then of course the dual capacity framework developed by Dr. Karen Mack. So we've expanded to provide family workshops, parent-teacher conference guides, family event guides, etc., as well as a platform that allows family engagement to be very personalized. So if families have a certain question around parenting or around the development of their child, they can receive specific videos around those questions, but also that personalization carries over into connections to classroom curriculum and also assessment data so that you can share content with families to celebrate accomplishments that young children are having, as well as to target areas of growth. And finally, and Michelle mentioned this as well, but one of the most useful tools that we provide our districts now is accessible data that's actually linked to outcomes. And we always say that in the past, when we thought about family engagement, we sent home things and crossed our fingers and hoped that they were being utilized. But with Ready Rosy, not only can you see how it's being utilized by the families in your school district community, but you can actually link their usage back to child outcomes. So are they experiencing and interacting with content that's related to vocabulary development, one-to-one correspondence, rhyming, and other skills that are outlined, as well as family outcomes as well. So as you can imagine, we are 100% family engagement geeks. So we have, over the last 2 years, as school districts across the state of Texas have been posting their high quality family engagement plans. We literally have a rusty, trusty notebook in our office, as well as digital files of all of these innovative plans across the great state of Texas. And we found so many of the components that Michelle mentioned that are happening in Houston. But I thought I'd take just the next couple minutes to highlight just other things that we've seen that are just exciting opportunities that, that maybe you can go onto their website and find out more information about that. Or if you, within your network of early childhood directors, you can definitely connect and learn more about some of these innovative ideas. So I just chose, for sake of time, 4 of the 6 components to highlight today. But very quickly, I'll walk through these. And of course, we're especially excited about some of the ones that mentioned Ready Rosy, but we tried to highlight multiple exciting ideas. So for example, when it comes to facilitating family-to-family support, San Antonio ISD is hosting monthly coffee or plática meetings with early childhood principals and elementary principals so that families can come together, ask questions, build social capital. We're really excited about the work going on in Round Rock ISD. They are utilizing Ready Rosy specifically to support their partnerships with childcare centers across Round Rock, where they're not only partnering with the families who attend those childcare centers, but also supporting the instruction that's happening by providing professional development and support for those early childhood professionals as well that are at those childcare centers. So a really exciting way to partner with families and to connect them to high quality childcare services as they then feed into the school district. I actually got to sit down with Sally Brown in Denton ISD and be a part of the high quality family engagement planning that they're doing in Denton, and proud to say that not only do they use Ready Rosy in Denton, but Denton ISD, in partnership with the public library and several nonprofit organizations, organized this year and have for several years a community-wide play date where families all over the city got together at local facilities across the city and played, right? And we all know families need to understand the value of play, and to do that together with other families is a really powerful experience. Furthermore, establishing a network of community resources, tons of local amazing work going on. In Austin ISD, they're partnering with their local United Way around a two-generation strategic plan. In Conroe ISD, they've developed a parent lending library and use those Ready Rosy family workshops to bring families in and to connect them to local resources. We're proud to partner with Pasadena ISD, who not only provides Ready Rosy to their families through their teachers and classrooms, but also has developed a parent practices newsletter that has community resources and supports, and that comes out monthly. Also practical ways that they can connect with their school district, and just keeping families consistently informed around those parent practices. Louisville ISD has established strong partnerships with local libraries and community and faith-based organizations to support a holistic community-based approach to family engagement. And then Clear Creek ISD has an amazing birth through enrollment outreach plan that utilizes Ready Rosy among other tools to support families who are not even yet enrolled, but who are in the pipeline to enroll in Clear Creek ISD. So we're proud to partner with them, but also excited about all these innovative ideas. As far as equipping families with tools to enhance and extend learning, Cy-Fair ISD does an amazing job to prevent summer learning loss by providing summer transitional backpacks, and of course Ready Rosy's Summer Soar resources and videos as well throughout the summer. Austin ISD encourages all their teachers to share those playlists, and if they're having issues, to schedule times to support their usage. And Humble ISD has a very unique collaborative with several school districts that surround Humble, where they are specifically supporting the early detection and support around dyslexia and early reading strategies. And this was, I know many of you are familiar about the work that Texas and TEA have done around dyslexia. So we partnered up with Humble to make sure that that the support that the videos and the content we were providing were actually labeled specifically to support families either with children who are at risk or who have been diagnosed with dyslexia. So an exciting and unique way that they're partnering with families around a very specific learning need. Also evaluating family engagement efforts and using evaluations for continuous improvement. As I mentioned, we have a very robust data platform around Ready Rosy to support data on family engagement. Louisville ISD listed that in their family engagement plan. But also we're excited, Fort Worth ISD about 3 years ago actually used CLI Engage Circle benchmark assessments to really track our families who are more engaged, and they measured that by families who were specifically engaging with Ready Rosy and self-reporting that they were doing the activities at home. Did those children have stronger outcomes between their mid-year and end-of-year benchmark CLI engagement? And we're proud to say that that study did affirm that those families were seeing, that those children were showing higher outcomes, particularly in letter knowledge and some of the early math concepts as well. So all kinds of ways to look at family engagement and start thinking about how it is transforming family outcomes and then ultimately child outcomes in the classroom. So I hope that that provides just kind of an overview. If you want to geek out on family engagement plans, we've read them all. If they're posted, we've read them, and we're excited about all of the thoughtfulness and intentionality that's going into family engagement, because we know that our public schools cannot do it, cannot accomplish the great task before them without the support and the partnership with families. And so with that, I wanted to end on a very unique and customized way that we're supporting Texas families. Many of you on this webinar had a personal real-life experience with Hurricane Harvey 2 years ago, but we know that hurricanes are just one aspect of storms and natural disasters that we experience here in Texas. And so actually about 9 months ago, I was contacted by Rebuild Texas, which is an organization focused on Hurricane Harvey recovery, and they asked if we could develop some Ready Rosy modeled moment videos to support families both before, during, and after a storm or a natural disaster. So we partnered with Mental Health of America, with Rice University, and with Texas Children's Hospital, and developed videos and resources to help prepare families around the traumatic events of natural disasters. So we have several experts speaking to families around trauma-informed parenting and what that looks like, especially as it comes to trauma surrounding a natural event or disaster. So I wanted to close, whether your district implements anything with Ready Rosy or not, there's several tools that are free and available on our website, and this one in particular is a toolkit that is free and available, and we hope you'll join us in sharing and spreading the word to support families that have had any type of traumatic event or experience, as we know that that can greatly impact their success in the classroom and beyond. And so with that, and by the way, I meant to say this at the beginning, and maybe Anna did, but all of the links that we're sharing, both our presenters and this link, we will send in a follow-up to this, this webinar, so you have all of that at point of use. So I'm going to transition very quickly and just open it up for any questions for Howard, Michelle, Lynn, or myself about any of the topics that we've covered today. As Anna mentioned, you can type those questions into the Q&A of the webinar. And I want to mention, we'll give it just a couple minutes, more minutes to see if there's any questions out there. But I did want to mention that we will make sure that all of our contact information is listed in the follow-up of this email. Sometimes it's a little more comfortable to share questions just one-on-one, and so we'll make sure that you have the ability to do that as a follow-up to this email, or excuse me, as a follow-up to this webinar. Great. Well, without further ado, I want to thank our panelists today and our speakers for sharing not only their great work they're doing, but I hope you also see the heart behind this. And that's one of my favorite part about being in the family engagement space, is that there's a lot of passion about the power of families, and I think all of our presenters represented that as well. So thank you all who are attending this webinar, and let me see if there's just one question I think coming up. Nope, just lots of thanks coming through. Thank you so much for sharing, and we will follow up, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.